Hello, and welcome back to the Chicks in Construction podcast. I am your host, Mickey Paradise, and today we have a very special guest. We have Ashley Selzer, owner of Wallaby Windows. She's actually not just the owner, she's the president, she's the CEO, she's the boss lady, but she owns Wallaby Windows. She is a licensed general contractor. Notice that I said licensed because we've discussed it. It's important. Which I think is really cool because a lot of window companies do not have a licensed general contractor anywhere in their sphere of a company. So that's amazing. And it's window season.
Yes.
In the sense of like everybody's doing stuff to their house. They're realizing my windows are leaking because it's raining. They're realizing that maybe they're getting some heat going in, going out. I'm not sure why this would be the time people are replacing their windows, but it just is.
They're not using their toy room because it's too hot.
There you go. There you go. She knows why. We should probably just ask her.
They're not using their homes.
So I can tell you that when I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, she needs to be on the podcast because... So my house was built in the 70s, and when I bought it, it had the original windows in it, which they were horrible. And that was just like on the list of things to do. It was like they were so energy inefficient, and we know that our house is built in the 70s, so it's like a piece of Swiss cheese. It's leaking air like it's its job, and I get that, but the windows were just ugly. They weren't even functional or operational, and so we reached out to, I think, 7 different window companies. And by the 5th one, I was so over it because I'm in construction. Hello. Like we've discussed this. I've been doing this for many a moon. So when I bought this house, I had been in construction for a solid 10 years. I know what windows cost. So these guys are coming in and I'm getting their quote back and it's like the cost of my house. And I'm like, what? So finally, when they were like the 5th guy, I said, listen, I understand what I look like. I'm blonde. I'm blue-eyed. You don't think I'm in construction. I am in construction. So if you come in here and you give me this insane quote, you are not just wasting your time. You're wasting my time. Can you just give me a regular quote? And he was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And then gave me the most outrageous quote. So it was the last company that came in. And I just remember being like, listen, dude. I swear to God, finally, we got like a normal price to replace our windows. But it took like on the brink of a mental breakdown and a little bit of threats to just be like, give me a normal price on windows. And so when I met Ashley, I was like, Lord Jesus, people don't know what they don't know until they're trying to replace their windows and they bring in all these different companies and they come back with these crazy prices. So I was like, she needs to be on the pod. We need her on the pod. So she's on the pod. So tell us, how did you get into windows? How did Wallaby Windows start? Like, give us the rundown.
So very similar to your story, actually. We were looking for windows ourselves. Our house was built about 20 years ago, and we weren't using our toy room because it was just smoking hot in there. Nobody ever wanted to go in there. And we found other pockets of the house were just unlivable. So we decided it's finally time. Let's replace the windows. So we started calling a whole variety of them. 8 or 9, I think, was the final number.
Oh,
but
God. PTSD.
It shocked the hell out of me. I could not believe how low the bar was in this industry.
If there was even a bar. Right. If we could even say they had a bar.
I just don't think. So there was everything from what the industry calls chuck in the truck, who was just,
the roofer talked about a chuck in the truck. Me and Jess had never heard that term before.
Stand in a van, chuck in a truck. Those are your 2 guys you gotta watch out for. They're great handymen, but at the same time, they tend to not have the knowledge base. They don't understand the products. They don't know what they're selling. They're just there to tell you, look, I can get some windows. I can pop them in real fast. And they're probably going to buy them at Lowe's. Maybe they have a relationship with a distributor, but they don't necessarily care about what the NFRC ratings are or what window's the right solution for me. My favorites were one competitor. Well, sorry, at the time, just one.
He became a competitor because he made her so mad.
This gentleman came in, wore his shoes through my house.
Rude.
Sat at my kitchen table and told me my vinyl windows were killing me.
Oh.
Told me they were off-gassing, that the vinyl chloride was killing my children.
Oh my God,
He
delightful.
told me, oh yeah, they were going to outlaw it just like they do asbestos, because vinyl chloride is just like asbestos.
Oh my God.
And that was kind of the peak. He had been there for 3.5 hours. I made spaghetti bolognese from scratch in my kitchen while this man refused to leave my kitchen table. And when he told me they were going to ban vinyl windows in the future because the off-gassing, just like asbestos, that was it. I couldn't hold my tongue anymore. I have a degree in soil science, and I actually studied asbestos and mesothelioma while I was in college.
Okay.
And I went off on him, asking him how the crystalline structure of vinyl chloride could it all mimic the crystalline structure of asbestos. And
I bet he didn't even know what crystalline structure meant, because I'm like, what that be?
Yeah, that's the shards that get into your lungs that cause the cancer, mesothelioma, and asbestos.
Okay.
He just looked at me and, snarky man that he was, just said, well, we can't be as smart as you, sweetheart. And that was, I said, can you please leave? And
did you get your kitchen knife and we're like, please leave?
Here's how he tried to finish the conversation. We can all agree that you're not going to not choose my windows because it's the safest window on the market. If you choose to buy another window, you know the choice you're making for your family. And I said, you tell me this while I let you bring a cell phone in my home, while I cook over a gas stove, while I have a gas fireplace. I know how to manage the risks in my life in an educated way. And if my vinyl windows are off-gassing, I will open them.
Yeah, that's what they do. They open.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Then the next gentleman floored me because he didn't know anything about his window. I said, what is this sticker on it? What does it mean?
Yeah.
He said, oh, those are just some numbers they slap on
words,
there.
words, and numbers.
He had no idea. I said, what kind of training did you get to be able to come into my home and tell me about this window? And he said, well, to be honest, I'm on commission, and they told me if I want to sell more products, I should go out and educate myself. They gave him no training whatsoever. And
they just put him out there selling windows.
Yep. Wasting my time.
Oh,
wasting my family's time.
Y'all.
I've got 3 kids sitting in the toy room every time I've got another company out there trying to keep themselves entertained and separate. And every time it was a waste of my household's energy and time. And it was, I felt it brewing. I felt it boiling over.
This made you so mad that you literally started a window company.
Yep. I looked at my husband,
live for this.
And I said, you know what, honey, we're going to start a replacement window and door company, because there is no lower bar than this. Because
we can't do any worse.
We cannot do worse. It turns out just answering a phone call is a new bar. It turns out just not high pressuring and saying, I need to bring in my closer. I need to call my boss. My boss wants to talk to you.
Oh God.
I was like, I feel like I'm in a dirty, sleazy car lot, and it's my home, and you won't even leave. And a whole new ferocity sparked. And I said, that's it. This is it. I don't care. Before that, we had owned furniture stores for 18 years.
Okay.
And I said, I'm done with furniture. We need to go into replacement windows and doors, because the community deserves better than that.
Oh my God.
They deserve an opportunity.
You're not lying.
Yeah. They deserve an opportunity to be respected. They deserve an opportunity to be educated.
Yeah.
They deserve their time to be respected, their home to be respected. I felt like this is it. This is definitely.
And not to get sold a bunch of stuff that they don't need. Like, and I don't know. Obviously I'm a drywall contractor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I don't know. Just like our audience doesn't know what they don't know. But so I get this call years ago, my sister, and she's like on the verge of tears. So my sister's 7 years younger than me. She has 3 kids. Like, I'm like the one who like is like, I just have a business and dogs.
Lots of them though.
A lot of dogs is kind of a problem.
A lot of love.
And so she's like on the verge of tears, and she's like, Mickey, there's this guy in my house. And I'm like, there's a guy in your house. And she's like, no. Like, let me finish.
I opened the door for him accidentally.
She's like, he's been here for like 3 hours. He's trying to sell me these windows. They're like $200,000. I was like, Chelsea, did you spend that much on your house? And she's like, no. And he's like telling her like, they're the most energy efficient windows that have ever existed in the history of energy efficient windows. And I was like, but baby, your house was built before house wrap was a thing.
You don't,
so like,
you already don't have the most energy efficient home. You don't need that solution.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, I feel 99% confident in telling you, Chelsea, do not spend $200,000 on windows. And like, they're like, but the finance. And I'm like, no.
You don't need a second mortgage.
No, you don't need a second mortgage for windows. And that is like one of the things that like kind of drives me the most crazy about this, like these energy efficient windows.
Yeah.
And like my house was built in 1973. We find these little hidey holes all the time that it's like a large rat could just walk right into my house.
But let's sell you triple pane windows with 2 layers of low E film and, you know, sell you on how it's the most energy efficient window ever.
But so we're confirming, industry expert here, if your house was built in the 70s and you've done nothing to like make it energy efficient, the most energy efficient windows are not what you need.
No, they really aren't. And I have a fun little spreadsheet because I'm a numbers nerd that I've made for a variety of people. And we'll talk it through. We lead with a consultative sales approach. So I've got it, you know, my consultants can show these numbers at any time, but I can show you one window with a variety of different glass packs and what the different U factor is. And that's how much heat is being resisted transferring. What the SHGC is, which is the solar heat gain coefficient. And that's how much of the radiant heat is coming from the sun into your home.
Okay.
You can compare these numbers.
Yeah.
And then you can look at the rest of your home and decide, do these numbers make sense for what I'm actually trying to achieve? There's also visible transmittance, which is how dark the window is. Then there's also sound transmittance. So some people are being sold the most energy efficient window when they really called someone because they can hear the 540 just got built in their backyard and they just wanted to reduce some noise. Then laminated glass is your best option, not triple pane.
Oh, I wish somebody had told me about that. My house backs up to a really busy street.
Yeah. Laminated glass is a cheaper solution and the most noise reducing glass pack that you can find. So we go through these numbers with our customers. We try to find the right solution, and the most energy efficient window is not always the right solution.
Right.
So the Energy Star map that shows the U.S. broke up into 4 different
the quadrants, if you will.
Yes. So these energy efficient windows could be sold in Florida per Florida standards. And it has already been proven that we don't need that.
Yes.
Right. And to achieve those standards, the layers of protection and the layers of additional change and modification made to that window makes that window 2 to 3 times the cost.
Oh my goodness.
So when I'm making a margin on that, it's better for me to sell you one that's 3 times the cost.
Right.
So I understand why some of my competitors lead with that. But other than like feeling good about yourself in this one brief little moment, you didn't necessarily make your home all that much more energy efficient. If you've got no house wrap, if you haven't insulated your crawl space, if you haven't, you know, or your attic, there's lots of other ways that you can make your home energy efficient.
Well, the other thing too is like, it depends on like, there's factors, right? So like our house is in a jungle. It's the last jungle in North Hills, but it's a jungle nonetheless. And the sun barely hits our house. Yeah. So we have one window where every house plant that I own lives, because that's the only window that gets sun, because we have this canopy of trees. Like you can't even see our house from Google Earth.
And did they ask you about visible
No,
did
like
they
there was
no. How the different layers of energy efficient low E film
like
actually
like there's not a conversation about that at all, which just makes me realize
like dark sunglasses on your glass because it's the most energy efficient thing, when really somebody should have said, let's maximize the light coming in.
Right. Because I'm just like, we need all the light we can get up in here. My house plants, I probably spend more on grow lights. They probably think I'm growing something other than house plants, but I'm like, really, we just don't get sun.
I haven't heard grow lights in a while.
Oh, there's a lot in here, but it's for my house plants, I promise. So when you guys are going through a process, like you come in and you're just like, hey, listen, here's the options. Here's the range of windows. Because I always wonder, is there just like, okay, this is what it costs to replace a window and there's the range? Or is there like, I know you said that there's different lines.
There's different lines, whether or not you put grids on it, different glass packs, right? So if you are looking for noise resistance, if you're looking for, different options, if you do want that 2 layers of low E coating, every variation, every variable adds to the cost.
Okay.
There's a guy we like to follow, Jeff Ludy. He's called the Houston Window Expert. You can go watch him on YouTube. He's got a really robust channel on there. He talks about how a window should not cost you less than $2,000 a hole. And
oh my God, in dollars?
And he is like avid that is what the cost should be, because a window is not just a window. When you're replacing it, your home is not just these, bricks and beams. It's your home, and you want to do it right. You want to keep water infiltration out. You want it done smoothly. You want to trust the people you're bringing in. So in reality, the cost of the window is probably half of the cost of the project.
Oh,
your labor is half of that cost too, right? And how well trained, how well certified, how much I trust them, how accountable they are for their errors, how quickly they mitigate errors, how experienced they are, has a cost. So you don't want to hire the cheapest guy, because if the window itself costs $700 out of the distributorship or out of the manufacturer, you still need to pay somebody to do a good job and to take care of your home in the process and to manage all of the rest of it for you. All of that has a cost. I don't agree with Jeff. I think that
I was about to say, are you trying to tell me right now, my gal, that we're talking $2,000 a hole? No. I'm gonna die.
I don't agree with him. I don't know what he pays his installers. I don't know what the just other general costs are to do business in his area. Here, I would say a basic install, $1,000 is a safe bet.
Okay.
It means I've got a good installer on the job that I trust. It means that the product line I sold you is not builder grade. It means that you probably paid attention during my presentation and we got you the right solution for your pain points. And that's a window I'm going to be proud of and you're going to be proud of.
Right.
And I'll stand behind the warranty. I do sell a window that can creep up to $3,000 a hole. We're talking composite frames. We're talking thermally broken aluminum. We're talking fiberglass. Every innovation has a cost. When you start to innovate beyond a white vinyl window and you start to get into not just painted vinyl, extruded vinyl, right? So that the vinyl
extruded.
Right.
That means it comes from the factory, that color.
It is. It's extruded. In its liquid form, it is that color. Ooh. So, when you add layers, you add cost.
Oh, yeah.
And to add cost to the product means I probably have to pay my subs more as well because they're heavier. They require different installation methods.
Yeah.
There's different layers to it, right? And how we install it. If you want a pocket install where we're just cutting out the old frames and throwing in a window, that's cheaper. If you need a full frame replacement, you've got some rot, your exterior is hardy, and I can't get access to where the old frame meets, I may need to peel a lot of stuff back to get it properly watertight again.
Yeah.
We can get more expensive.
Dude, watertight too is a really big thing that people don't think about.
You're chucking a truck, staying in a van, maybe very well be using the cheapest sealant they sell at Home Depot. And that stuff's going to crack. It's going to be brittle. We use nothing but OSI, Quad Max. That stuff will literally harden in a tube of water.
Oh, wow.
It is as water. And then we follow their installation method, which is a 15-point process. Everyone on our team's OSI-certified. Because the flashing tape, the method of installation, they back it by a 15-year warranty if you follow their procedure.
Ooh,
so
love that.
So there are layers that cost money.
Yeah.
Right. And to have everybody trained on that method, have everybody using those particular materials, those flashing tape rolls, those tubes of caulking, all of that adds to, no, we're not doing it for $700. We're just not.
And you know what? And the thing is, we all know that you get what you pay for. I think the thing that people don't understand is, you get what you pay for on the negative side. People don't understand when you go for the cheap windows, you get windows that become inoperable. That's the word I was going for.
Then you have an egress issue. People don't even think about that. They just say these old windows, they're jammed, but they're so cool. We love having our old wood frame windows. It's historic. Well, you can't get out of that bedroom.
Right.
That's a problem. That's an egress issue. You can't sell that house. You can't.
True. That will come up at an inspection.
Yep. A family who fostered kids came to us wanting a quote on windows, and they said, "Oh, the handyman said he could just grease them and they'll open." I was like, "Your windows don't open. You have foster children living with you.
Yeah.
You think that the foster system wants to come in and find a home with windows that don't open in the bedroom because the rain swelled the frames?"
Oh God.
Like, there's issues beyond.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think people don't understand. Like, so like one of the things, for instance, like on the drywall side of things, we obviously do new construction, and I guarantee you those are the cheapest windows that you could find in all the land.
Builder grade.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even though these are some of these apartments, you're paying a mortgage payment to live in this apartment, it's still the cheapest apartment or the cheapest window that ever was invented in the world. But we specifically exclude, because when we do interior and exterior paint, we specifically exclude any caulking to do with the window, because they'll try to like loop us into some kind of water intrusion issue. And so now there's become a whole inspection process when it comes to windows. And so because water intrusion is such a big deal and can be so costly and do so much damage before you even realize that it's a problem, there's this whole new inspection process on the new construction side. I don't know how
litigation changed recently too.
It did.
That made builders more susceptible to and more accountable to cutting those corners.
Right.
So
and
now
so
there's
like
a longer period of time that they're responsible.
There is. And there's even like sometimes they'll literally have this whole thing where the inspector comes and he's like on a lift, because you know we're on apartment complexes, and he's like spraying the windows to see if the water gets in and doing moisture testing. And so like there's a lot, like they want to see the prep that you've done before you install the window. They want to see the window when it's installed, and then they want to see, you know, when everything is finished. There's an additional inspection that happens on the new construction side. I know we were talking, so they don't, it's just that listen, that they ain't cheap to build. So there is counties, and I'm sure it's the same in every state except for Texas, because we talked to Texas is wild, and just anything goes in Texas. And maybe that's why that guy says $2,000 a hole, because he's like, I can do whatever I want.
Well, he's one of the only ones who's probably like actually has experience in licensure.
Yeah,
to do what he
100%.
does, right?
You can wake up one day and be like, do you know what I want to do in Texas? I'm a doctor now, and that's pretty much
you just like buy a GC license. You don't take.
There's no license. There's no licensing. There's our first homeowner horror story.
Not the 28 books that we had to study.
Yeah, literally. They're all right there.
I saw your lineup. Yeah. I've given mine away. I don't keep all of them. I've got
I'm like, I'm ready. If you come to me with a question, I'm like, hold on. I've got my book.
I'm like, here, you want to look at my sports field book? I don't really plan on that anymore.
Sports field book. Yeah. I heard that. I was like, really?
I kept the soils book that I have.
That makes sense. You're a soils lady. About that. I kept the drywall book.
Talk dirty to me.
You're like, oh my God.
Right? Grow lights.
Oh, that's great. I should have you test some of the soil. I keep killing plants, and I'm like, what's the problem?
I could do a soil profile.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And she could replace my windows. Here's a question. I've recently seen this advertisement for this one company, and they're like, we'll replace just one window because nobody else will do that.
Really? Someone else is advertising that?
Yeah.
That's funny. So we don't advertise that, but we do make an exception. Here's the thing about that. Installation has fixed costs.
Right.
So when I take those fixed costs and I try to make it more palatable, 3 windows tends to be my minimum, because then I've met a minimum amount that I feel comfortable charging a customer for, that I feel is reasonable. Otherwise, those fixed costs need to be met in one window. Right. And it looks like I am way overcharging you. And I've really poorly reflected my standards. And by standards, I don't mean installation standards. I mean like my business ethics standards. It doesn't feel good to have to charge someone a lot for installation. But when they're only getting one window installed, there are some minimums that have to be met. And that doesn't feel good to anybody. So we'll do it, but we have to have that uncomfortable conversation with the customer. And we'll let them know. We do it actually all the time, because I'm a member of the Association of Realtors. I'm an affiliate member of the Women's Council. I do a ton of work for and with the real estate agents all throughout the Raleigh region. And one of the best services I can offer them is consultations about window purchases, for buyers and sellers, but also when they have a listing and they have one window. We'll waive a lot of our minimum standards for real estate agents, but it is a complicated thing to communicate to a customer. Look, if you bought 3 windows, this may actually not even be that much more expensive.
Oh yeah.
Because I
hate having to have that conversation. I don't have that conversation often. But every once in a while, somebody will call me and be like, hey, can you help me? My cousin has a basement.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we just want to do this side of the basement. And I'm like, it will literally cost you the same amount to do the whole basement, because it's about how many guys it's going to take. People don't get paid hourly really anymore. In construction, it's weird. Like sometimes they do, in some certain cases they don't.
We pay based on productivity.
Yeah, you pay based on productivity. So like if a guy gets paid a certain amount a day and your job is only going to take a quarter of a day, he still has to get paid that daily rate in order for him to show up. Like you could try to not, but then he's not going to show up. And that's why your renovation took 72 weeks. Because we were trying to be weird about things and not just pay people what it costs to actually get it done. And so I can relate to that, being like, people come in, they're like, oh, well, we want to do both bonus rooms, but we can only do the one now. And I'm like,
just do it. Just do it. Yeah. And that tends to be, so we'll do a door. We will do one window, but typically 3 windows is our minimum, because we feel like that gets us to a very palatable installation fee.
Okay.
So the fact that I have somebody out there in the region that's advertising, I think it's good for them and it's good for the community. As long as they're doing a good job on their installs. I don't know who it is, and you don't need to tell me.
I won't tell
but as long as
it's good to find you. Now that we've talked about it, it's gonna come up. It's gonna pop up on your phone. It's gonna be like, oh, by the way, girl, it was this company.
Stop listening.
You 100% know who they are.
But I think actually that's a good service to offer, and I'm fine with that, because
I'm sure it is very expensive.
I would rather it be them than me, because it's, it often is those customers that end up dissatisfied, unfortunately, too, because it doesn't typically perfectly match the rest of the home. They're so excited to get that one window done that they don't think of other factors. They aren't as thorough and thoughtful about their purchase.
Yeah.
So we tend to find that it's not our favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But as long as somebody who's offering it in the community is doing a good job and doing a good solid installation, then they found their niche, and that's great.
Like, good for you.
Yep.
So do replacement windows need to be permitted in Wake County, North Carolina? Does it change by county? Like, what do we need to know?
It does. So you can replace like for like windows and doors and siding for up to $40,000 per licensing board for general contractors. Beyond that, the interpretation changes. Okay. And every county interprets it slightly different.
You can do that without a permit.
Without a permit, you can replace like for like up to $40,000. And that's the cost of the job without tax.
Okay.
So everything they are doing completely. When we first started, we weren't licensed. I have a minor in construction management, but I thought, we're just replacing like for like. Why would it ever be over $40,000?
Right.
You should really be asking yourself, why would it ever be over $40,000?
True story.
But then we started selling higher end product lines. We started, listening to what the community needed. We started doing more siding and windows. We started doing more windows and doors. I've done 60 window jobs, 70 window jobs. Some homes are just really big.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were.
And listen, doors are getting bigger and bigger. Every time they build a mini mansion, I'm like, what are you trying to move into that house? An elephant?
A triple light slider with a non-breakable frame.
I don't know what that means, but I'm telling you, like the size of these doors, I'm wondering how my neighbors are opening their doors.
It's their pet elephants for sure.
It's 100% their pet elephants, because I'm just like,
concerned about
ma'am, do you even use that door? Is this a decorative door? You're going into your house through your garage 100%.
Let alone how heavy those doors are.
Oh, that's what I'm like. and if when you leave, like you need to like check out these new little mini mansions.
I was impressed.
And you're just like, why is your door so big?
Yeah, why is your door so big? Yeah, the more to dust, my sweet.
People are like, nobody cares about this.
I know, maybe they don't dust their own doors. Is my guess, but
probably not.
No, they probably don't.
They have they have a whole team of dusters.
Yeah, exactly. So to answer your question, in the counties that do require a permit over 40,000, they believe that because the project itself is taking on such a large sum, they want to hold the contractor responsible.
Okay.
And they want that responsible party to involve a lien agent so that should the homeowner have an issue, should a sub not get paid, those sorts of finances that happen in the back end and in the background, those will have an assigned lien agent that they can pass through because that project is now taken on, you're outside of small claims court potentially, the bigger the project gets.
Okay.
So those counties believe that's the purpose. However, there's a false sense of security to the homeowner because they don't inspect that install. If I tell
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why are windows not being inspected in the sense that they can cause such water damage and so much intrusion?
Drywall. There's a lot of potential damage for a poorly installed window.
Yeah.
They do not inspect them. It doesn't matter if you're over 40,000. That's not the point of their permitting.
So even if you get a permit, they're not inspecting it.
There's no inspector coming out.
It's just a permit to have a permit.
It's a permit to have a permit and to have a financially responsible third party. And that's it. The counties that don't believe in it say it's replacing like for like. We don't even have an inspection process for that. No, we won't come out and service it. And it would give the homeowner, our customer, a false sense of confidence that it was done properly because they don't come out and check it. All they do is they show a permit and sign off on it.
That's gross.
So that's why most of my competition in the area is not licensed general contractors.
Yeah.
So as long as they stay in their lane, they replace like for like, and they do so in the counties where they don't care, they can do a $100,000 replacement window job and it wouldn't matter. They should not be replacing windows for doors or doing any conversions that require header replacement or structural changes.
Right.
Which can be the difference in going with a licensed general contractor.
And so when you were, let's just say, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, hypothetically speaking here, let's just say that I had a weird ass door on the side of my house that didn't make any sense. And it may or may not be the only window in my house now where my houseplants live. If you were to do that, you would like structurally have a structural engineer look at that. Like
even if we didn't end up needing to change the header, we would have somebody double check it with us. We make sure we pay that extra service fee to have a structural engineer clear it before we make that call ourselves.
And so is that advice that you would give to our watchers and our listeners, that if they are really changing the structure of something, so they're swapping a window for a door, or they're going from a slider that's just a regular slider to one of those, like, foldies, like they're really
collapsible.
That's the one.
Doors.
They're making a structure larger, or they're making an opening larger, or whatever. They're changing the structural makeup of a house.
Yeah, because if you have a person in there who doesn't know that, hey, this is a 3-story house on a load-bearing header, and I'm making it bigger.
Right.
Have I truly accounted for the weight that's above it, right? There's even general contractors might eyeball it, but a structural engineer should be involved to say exactly what specifications, where the king stud should go, where the jack stud should go, and how to properly distribute the weight for what's above it.
Okay.
I mean, I absolutely believe so. But even more so, we had just last week, we installed a triple window. So this woman had 3 windows.
Yeah.
And based on how close they were, we knew that it was non-structural, the support beams that were running vertically there. So we got in there to go convert it all from 3 windows into 1 massive picture window.
Yeah.
And as we were going in and pulling back the drywall, we discovered that against code, someone had run gas lines in between these non-structural studs. So they're
like, you know what? It's fine. Right. This is a great place for it.
Like basically decorative trim with gas lines and electrical running for their HVAC. So we had to pause. And luckily, another sub might have come through and cut.
Oh God, right? True.
And I don't know if you heard recently about the siding job in Ohio where a company was doing a siding job, cut a gas line and killed 5 people. So
let's not do
right,
that.
so experience and knowledge and patience matter.
Yeah.
So we pull it back, we paused, we brought it over to the homeowner. She's like, I've never seen anything like we've never seen anything like this.
Same.
This is not to code, right? We don't know. So they had to have an HVAC company come in and reroute all of the electrical and the gas lines so that we could finish the job properly. And the guy's like, yeah, no problem. I can do this. I can do this. And then as he's in the middle of it, off just tosses out there, between 2,500 and 10 grand to do this, as he's already in the process of doing it. And the homeowner's like, you could have mentioned that ahead of time.
Well, hold on. Okay. Homeowners.
Yes.
We don't let people just willy-nilly come up in our houses to do work without numbers. Okay. No.
Yes. It ended up costing $1,200.
Okay, 1,200 is great, but the fact that it could have been 10, I just had a mild heart attack. And so everybody needs to know that we don't let anybody start work without.
Yeah. And you're willing to leave the drywall torn back while you get the right HVAC company out to do the work. Don't ever let them strong arm you into believing that that's your only option in that moment. Our ops manager was on site the whole time. He took care of all the communication between the homeowner after that point. Was like, okay, it's time for me to step in. She didn't get the knowledge we had hoped she did out of all of this. He stepped in, facilitated the conversation as well as the price to get the job done and got it completed. Everything's done. It all turned out amazing. And she was happy. She shouldered some of the responsibility because we had told her we want to get back and look at the studs when we quoted her the project. She said, no, I don't want you to. So we said, you may be incurring additional costs.
Okay.
We did not expect that to be the additional
Nobody
cost.
saw a gas line coming.
No.
There
can be, it's construction, it's home improvement. There's always something that can happen, obviously, but that one we didn't see coming. And it was partly because she didn't want us to peel back and look, because she knew between the final measure and the install, it would be sitting there exposed, patched maybe, but not pretty. So she had said, we'll just deal with whatever on installation day. That's how we ended up there. But yes, you want to go with a reputable company who knows what they're doing, who's not afraid to pause, who's fully licensed to be able to say, stop, here's what happens next.
Yeah.
And not have to say, now I need to find somebody else to step in and finish this job because we're not licensed to do so.
That's a good point. What are like the things people need to know? Like, obviously just call, if you're in the area, just call Wallaby Windows.
Let us be a part of the conversation. If nothing else, you'll be a more educated buyer. You don't, At the end of the day, if you don't buy from us and you buy from one of our competitors who does a decent job, there's no hard feelings. We're just trying to help. I live and breathe by the statistic that the average American only ever buys windows 1.2 times in their life. So the number of people who's ever bought windows twice in their life is minimum.
Yeah.
And very minimal. Most people, it's just a one-time thing they ever do. Even when they go on to buy another house, we only live in our houses, 7 years or whatever.
Really?
But
I'm going to die in this one.
I love that.
One way or another.
Love that for you. Right? Maybe it's that rat-sized hole I heard about.
We're working on that.
Right. So for us, just let us be a part of the conversation, help educate you. We take that part of our job very seriously. If you've invited us into your home to at least be a part of the conversation, we will make sure you will leave more educated. So,
but for those of you who aren't local and don't have access to this amazing wealth of knowledge.
Or if you're just having my competitors out and us, number one thing is a highly detailed quote matters. So it might seem fluffy. We use, all of the latest technology to provide you with an in-home quote that you can hold in your hands and review and compare and contrast. We carry a wide variety of brands, so we like to use those quotes so that you can compare the NFRC labels from one to another. So
and an NFRC label is
the National Fenestration Rating Council.
Okay.
So I get to say fenestration as often as I like because it's not as naughty as it sounds. Egress, basically, windows and doors. So this rating council rates every window out there, and they rate the heat transfer, the visible transmittance. Sometimes they rate the sound transmittance if they want it rated. So that you can compare how good of a insulator your window is compared to a competing brand or compared to another, maybe the same one, but with a different glass pack.
Okay.
It allows a non-biased third-party evaluation so that you can compare apples to apples as a consumer who's not in the industry.
Okay.
So NFRC labels, make sure that your consultant can read an NFRC label, decode an NFRC label, and effortlessly describe to you what each of what those numbers mean.
Okay.
Make sure you have a detailed quote. That is important because we have people in this area who just write like 10, 3x5 windows, and here's the price. There's no detail about that window, about how it's being installed, about what sort of warranty is included. There's no due diligence about that window that you can ever say, I didn't buy that. I didn't want that. It simplifies the process. It seems so clean and wonderful, but really what it does, it is empowers the contractor to be able to do whatever the hell they want and say you signed off on it.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee of quality. There's no guarantee that what you discussed is what's being bought. It leaves so much open to interpretation, and in construction, as we all know, leaving things open to interpretation is not the game to play.
We have discussed this on many an episode.
Educate yourself.
Essentially, it sounds to me like the proposal or the
quote
proposal rolls into the contract.
It becomes the contract. So when you sign that proposal, that's the legally binding contract. And the more detail that there is, the more contractually obligated both parties are to live up to a standard and an expectation.
I'm all about contracts. Like in the commercial world, we live and die by contracts. And so that's part of what I just love about the commercial world is that, like, I don't ever work in a job without a 90 to 180 page contract. Yeah. And most people are like, why would you like that? And I'm like, because it's protections. It's protections on both ends.
But it's also too educated buyer and seller.
Right. So they know what they're getting. I know what I'm getting. And so it's that, I read every single page of my contract, and I'm so big on contracts. And so essentially what she's saying is, contracts. And the more information that's on your proposal that's going to roll into your contract, the better. So somebody who, I honestly, like, thinking back to like my proposal when I got these windows, I don't know. I think this one was pretty solid. They actually did a good job. The guy that installed them, because we have casement windows on the front of the house, which are very expensive.
They're not just expensive. Stupid. You don't ever want to buy a cheap casement window. No. That is one of my cautionary tales. That hinge, if you go cheap on the window, that hinge is going to break.
Oh, 100%.
Casement windows.
So just so you know, casement windows are the ones that like you crank and they open out.
People call them crank windows.
Crank windows. So there's that. And so my house is it's a weird split level. And so we've got one inoperable. So it's just like in the middle, just hanging out, and then two casement windows next to it. And then these had to be specially made because they're the world's smallest casement windows. So it wasn't cheap. But I think the company we ended up going with was like a very detailed, like multiple pages. Okay. But of the 7 companies that came out, I mean, there were definitely like 4, casement windows, and it was one. It was literally a sketch pad status. Yeah. And so what you're saying is, the warranty information should be on that proposal.
Or at least in writing, communicated. Yeah. We recently changed our contracts. I don't know if the line about specific warranties is in there, because each brand has a different warranty. Okay. Each glass pack has a different warranty.
Oh, wow.
It can be there's different lines within each brand that have different warranties. So we had to take some of the general warranty information out, but you should be provided the warranty information of what you're expecting. Okay. Yes, that should be clear. But yeah, as much detail as possible should be communicated. I think our contracts are about 15 pages.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So instead of feeling overwhelmed, feel like, wow, this is awesome because somebody's giving me all this information that I have.
Transparency
that I can review it. That listen. Put that bad boy into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT give you an overview.
There you go.
I'm not lying to you. I'll take my 90 pagers after I've read them, obviously. But like something will come up and it will be disputing something, and I'll put my contract into ChatGPT and be like, hey, tell me where all of this wording occurs in our contract. And so then it kind of makes it easier. So you can have ChatGPT go through her 15-page contract and give you the rundown. Use AI. You don't have to work so hard. You can work smarter. But don't be overwhelmed by a 15 page.
Take your time. That's why we're not high pressure. We don't require our consultants to get a one call close. We're very much, if you're ready to buy on the spot, you've done your research and you know where the company to go with, great. I used to outlaw it. I used to say no one call close is allowed.
Oh, wow.
But
you're realized, sleep on it.
I know. Think of all the questions you have.
Yeah.
Come back to me, because those are the committed buyers who know our value, know our worth, and know why they want to use us. But then I started to realize some people have already had 7 of my competitors in their home.
And they're so over it. And they meet you guys and they're like, just do it. Yeah, I don't even care.
Yep. So that's when I started saying, fine, one call closes are allowed, but they're not encouraged. They're not rewarded. My guys don't get more money because they closed a one call close. It might facilitate the timeline faster, but that's literally it. Otherwise, do your research, ask your questions, get them all the way, build a report. That's what we're there for. Because otherwise, you could buy your windows at Home Depot. You could get someone on their installer list to do it, and you could have no relationship with them whatsoever. You could be completely in the dark about your ETAs. You could be completely in the dark about their installation methods or other questions you may have about your project. The whole reason you choose us is because we have a relationship.
Yeah.
Nurture that relationship with us. We love it. That's what we're there for.
Yeah. It's important. Very honestly, to be honest, that's just not a thing in Windows.
Yeah. So be cautious of anybody who's trying to get you to sign on the dot right then and there. One of the guys, the 3.5-hour spaghetti bolognese guy, he went from $180,000 quote on my Windows. Yeah. To 130 as I was asking him to leave. And I found out later when he became a true competitor of ours, I learned later that their business model is that this is how much things cost. Anything above this is your commission. That's how their structure's built. So
that's so shady.
So they literally walk into neighborhoods and choose the price. They say, oh, I could definitely make more here, because they literally can make more here.
I don't know if we talked about it on camera yet, or if we talked about it off camera. Listen, we'll figure it out. But that was part of the issue, was people were coming into the neighborhood and listen, my house, we discussed it. Hose, rats.
Darling.
It's darling. I love my house.
Darling.
But it was built in the 1970s. Okay. But we live on these half-acre lots in a very high demand area with no HOA. So all of these builders come in, they buy the little houses, they clear cut the lot, and they build 2 or 3 mini mansions on these lots. So now I went from living with the Clampetts, being a Clampett myself, to now I'm all these fancy rich people live in my neighborhood. I'm like, I was here first. Don't come over here trying to tell me about cleaning up my yard, Karen.
Right.
I was here first. You knew what you were getting into when you bought that house.
Yeah.
But to the fact that somebody would come in and add to my house, add a call, an increase of, because a roofer actually told me about this too, because we had to get a new roof, and I ended up just calling a friend that works in multifamily and being like, listen, I've had so many residential roofers out here, I'm going to kill somebody. Can you just freaking replace my roof at whatever cost? And I was talking to her guy and she was like, oh, it's your neighborhood. And I'm just like, but
no,
my house costs this much money.
It doesn't matter. You're in the fancy hood.
I don't get that. What makes you think that I can afford it? If I could afford it, I would live in the $3 million house across the street.
Not fix this one up till it's $3 million.
I'm just I don't understand this logic, but apparently that is really a thing where people
really is a thing.
will come in, they'll just jack the price up because they get to keep the difference.
Right. Some of the bigger companies out there will just say that window is going to cost you X to install and buy. Anything above that is your commission. You pocket it. So they can literally come in and quote me $175,000 and drop it to 130 because they still know in their mind
that they're still going to make money.
I'm still making $75,000-$80,000 on you.
Oh my
because,
God.
And I'm sure it's the percentage, but I also know what those windows cost, and it's not, $5,000 a window.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a standard to which we hold our staff. Everybody needs to know our values. Everybody knows our core values. Everybody knows why we exist, that we exist to serve the community, to share our knowledge and expertise, and to always do our best to provide our customers with the best quality for their budget that they can afford.
Yeah.
And those are the things we take honor and pride in. And so if you've got this high pressure, our prices are going up Monday. Sometimes we do know a price change is coming. And I feel like the worst person in the world when I have to tell everybody,
like, hey, listen,
go call all of your open proposals and tell them we have a price increase coming. Because the fact of the matter is sometimes it's real, right?
Dude, glass is expensive.
And with the new tariffs, I don't know what price changes are coming, but when one does come, they just came on our doors. It's coming on windows at some point, I'm sure. We're going to have those awkward conversations, but we're going to have to convince our customers this is not a high pressure sales tactic. I don't want to do this to you, but our prices really do have to go up. The cost of that product is going up. The cost of materials is going up. We have to increase our prices after next week. I'm giving you enough time to think about it. If it's not me, if it's not us, if the timing's still not right, then there's no pressure. We're still here for you.
Yeah, but
your price is going to change.
It's going to be different.
I feel guilty doing that because it is a schemy, sleazy sales tactic that my competitors
especially
use.
Because it doesn't come down like well, in your case, like I would love for people to be like, hey, today only, this is the cost of drywall. It's like everybody knows that's not the case. But like
especially commercial.
Yeah, they're just like, bitch, please. No. But we're having these price increases that are due to things that aren't material shortages or like there's a big issue in gypsum right now. Like there just isn't gypsum. So we're importing, we've like mined all the gypsum out of the United States. And so now we're importing it from Spain. And so
do people know that that's one of the main ingredients in drywall?
Do you guys know that? Gypsum is the main ingredient in drywall, and we're not allowed to use synthetic gypsum anymore for reasons that I think are a little stupid, but you can Google it. So we're importing it from Spain. And so
it's your primary ingredient.
And it is the primary ingredient. And so that is causing prices to go up. But it doesn't, like, that's one thing.
If it's Googleable and you can find out, yes, absolutely. I don't know if that's a word.
But during COVID, prices just went up because they could. Like gypsum plants will be so shady and they'll just jack prices up. But then the part that irritates me is they never come back down.
No, they never do.
And so that's the thing where I'm just like, listen, guys, when the prices are going up, like, don't think like, oh, well, maybe they'll come back down. I'm like, this isn't used cars. Like, unfortunately, like glass is going to be, it's only going up in cost.
And most windows are made in the U.S. That's a big thing that we liked about starting a window and door company. Most of them are made in the United States.
Awesome.
But there are still components. There's still, materials that we still have to order that do impact the cost.
Yeah.
If the cost of wood goes up, the cost of, everything, we still do need wood to install windows. Right? Like everything tends to still have an impact if there's tariffs, if there's additional price increases, supply chain, breakdowns, things like that, then it's going to impact our costs. So we try not to ever let our customers feel like it's the shady game we're playing. Because
that is definitely a thing. And so I would say that's a red flag. Like, so if you're going to replace your windows and you're bringing people in and they're trying to get you to sign right away, that's a red flag.
Or speak with their manager. I always hate that.
None of your guys need to call you to close a deal.
They don't need to at all. Unless they're giving you such a steep discount, I don't allow it. Then they really do have to call me. But once again, people exploit that and use it as I'm going to offer you the best deal ever, 20% off. But really, we already jacked up our prices so much. We ate this. Like, I'm just making you feel important.
Right.
Our prices are competitive. Our margins are as competitive as we can possibly muster and still run a thriving business.
Right.
They're having to make a phone call to get permission to actually get something below what I would normally allow. Yeah, they do have to ask permission, but it's not a sales tactic.
But I highly doubt they're doing that often. No. Like, I mean, who are you that you're going to get that level? Yes. You're not Mickey Paradise. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding.
No, we can't all be. But
nobody is that egotistical.
Right, no. Two of you wouldn't fit here. It's not possible.
Facts. Yes. So sign on the dotted line, red flag. You need to buy the most energy efficient windows, red flag.
Right. And then talking you into anything at all. If you feel like this is not your choice and you feel pressured, that is not the company to go with. You should never, this is your home.
Yeah.
This is your choice. You should be asking an expert what their opinion is. You should be asking an expert what options they can provide you to solve and reduce your pain points. Love that. That's one of my favorite things to say. But it's addressing all of your needs and concerns and educating you. And if at any point you feel like that's not what you're getting, then with all of my heart, like emphatically, you say leave.
Yeah.
I've got to think about this. I don't want to talk to your boss. I don't want to talk to your manager. But I'm also the kind of person, my husband dropped me off to buy a car. We had just hired a new staff member. I needed a car for him. It was all pre-negotiated. It was all worked out because my husband knows I've got no time to do all that.
No shenanigans.
So I just show up to sign.
Yeah.
I was there for an hour and a half. And then he tried to give me an outrageous interest rate thinking I wouldn't ask. I'm a ditzy blonde who probably doesn't care. He left me waiting till it was dark and he knew I had no return car home.
You almost murder him?
I said no. I said I'm leaving.
You're like, bitch, Uber exists. What's wrong with you right now?
This is the first car I've ever bought. Did you really think I wasn't going to ask you my interest rate? Did you really think that I was going to be afraid to walk away? I will walk home before I sign these documents.
Yeah.
And I called my husband, said, come pick me up. He said, you're not getting the car. I said, it's not the deal we agreed on. And he said, I don't understand. I said, I don't either. I sat there. The manager came out. I had everybody come and sit with me at the table. And I said, look, guys,
it's fine.
I am just fine. Like my core, it's calm. Yeah. But you guys
are the worst.
Are the trouble. Like this, your industry, what you stand for, the fact that you exploited all these things about me and wore it so thick. You should be ashamed. I'm done. Go away.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Yours was the best priced car. I may be back to buy it, but not right now. Not the way you laid it out and not at that interest rate. And I came back and I bought it cash 2 weeks later at the same price.
Take that interest rate.
They don't get, so they don't get to tell me. I just couldn't find a better deal anywhere else, but they sure weren't making any money on me buying it with their financing as well. I was so mad. But at the end of the day, I just felt like, don't waste my freaking time. Don't pressure me. Don't make me feel like I have no choices. Don't corner me. Don't let a window company, door company, any home improvement project you are doing. Don't let them bully you.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why we have so many horror stories. It's funny because we have a roofing contractor that's in the queue to be edited, and I literally just got a homeowner horror story about roofing, and I'm like, why couldn't you have sent this 2 weeks ago? But it would have been perfect because Bailey would have been great. But that's just so much of how we have these homeowner horror stories is people do feel bullied, or they don't, they don't get all the information up front. So they get that 1-page proposal. They
exploit their ignorance.
Yeah.
They know it's uncomfortable for people to say no.
Yeah.
They know it's uncomfortable for people. They do the whole leave your porch light on and I'm going to go sit in my car. And after you guys have discussed, just when the porch light's turned off, I'll come back up or whatever. There's so many shady, I am not leaving your property, even though I'm leaving your house. My favorite. I forgot to tell you, this poor young boy who didn't know anything about Windows needed my Wi-Fi in order to get me a quote. He said, can I get your access to your Wi-Fi? No,
sir.
Well, then it's going to take a lot longer. This presentation is going to take me a lot longer to go through and quote you because I need access to the internet to be able to get you a quote.
The door.
I was like,
go out.
That is so invasive. You're asking for access to my internet.
Yeah,
how many of those do you remember to click forget when you leave?
Oh God!
How many of those do you walk out there and your iPad is connected to all of these homes? You have access to their networks because you're tying into their personal network to get them a quote.
God, I never even thought about how inappropriate that is. I mean, literally nobody in the history of anybody comes to my house because I have a 200-pound dog that's iffy on people. You might be able to hear him snore.
He's snoring really loud.
Yeah, Jess always freaks out because the microphones are really good. So Jess always freaks out that you're going to be able to hear him snoring. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10,
we're not making weird noises. It's the dog.
Optimus Prime snores. And then Callie, I have this pocket bully that she likes to, my bedroom is right here. She likes to go up, get on the bed, and then throw her bone off
so you
the
hear the
bed.
clunking.
So I don't know if you heard any of that, but she really likes to jazz it up on recording days. She's like, let me just, she's like, I'm a sound engineer and I'm trying to just add a little pizzazz, a little razzle dazzle.
The mic earlier.
That's
We're still testing the mic.
Kelly's like, I'm here for you. Exactly, I can't even imagine somebody asking to borrow my wife, like something that I'm going to spend a pretty significant amount of money on. Because like, as we've learned,
they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. And they shouldn't be, sadly. It is one of the, and it is kind of one of those crappy investments where like updating your windows isn't going to make your house more valuable when you go to sell it.
It's not as bad as like insulation. Right,
true,
like at least
that's true.
It can make your home prettier.
Yeah,
you know, we do
100%.
You get rid of some grids. Maybe you update. Maybe you get black exterior. Maybe you like do something to make it prettier. And they do say that a nice brand new front door can increase the value of your home and can sell a home faster. So real estate agents do love to replace front doors before they list, especially in a slow market. Sense. Not that Raleigh's had a slow market in a while.
No,
but yeah, for the most part, no, it's not a fancy, fun thing to brag about.
And it's one of those things where it's like, necessary. It is totally necessary. Like, I'm probably going to connect you with my neighbor 2 houses down because they bought this house. Holy moly. Original windows. They're aluminum.
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 One of my favorite words.
And he,
Are they wood or aluminum?
So our house backs up to a busy street, right? And like, you know, they took them a long time to buy this house. It was not like they just showed up and bought the house.
Yeah.
It took them a long time. And so one day he comes over to my neighbor the in-between neighbor, which the in-between neighbor is like the perfect in-between neighbor because I'm not always just like the
mellow and low key.
Yeah, no, I'm not the nicest. Let's just be honest. Like you say stupid shit and I say stupid things back. Like somebody said to me,
you take the bait.
They're like, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Exactly.
So, but the neighbor comes over to my middle neighbor and he's like, so, that street is very loud.
Yeah.
And we were like,
did you notice?
You wouldn't.
You came flying up it when you came to look at the
I'm
house.
like, it's also been there the whole time you were buying your house. Yeah. So he might need some
not like
noise
the 540 that like randomly popped up for some people.
For real, like that's very true and very real. This street don't been here a long time. Yeah. But so I'm like, maybe I'll connect you with him because he definitely needs.
If he needs them, we'll talk to him about laminated glass. We're happy to.
But that's the thing too, is to make sure you know what your pain points are. So like,
know your pain points.
Right. Like this house is old. It's not energy efficient. I don't need the most energy efficient windows. We actually get a crap ton of shade. So like, I don't need to be worrying about solar vortexes or
solar heat gain coefficient.
Say it again.
Solar heat gain coefficient.
Solar heat gain coefficient. Yes. I don't really need to be worrying about that.
SHGC isn't less of a mouthful to say.
It's not.
It doesn't have a pretty acronym.
No, it's a lot. But so again, there's things that like I as a homeowner in this specific house don't have to worry about, and I don't need to be sold that window. Nope. But would having the windows on the back of my house be laminated? I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been sold to me that weren't. And so knowing kind of like what you need versus allowing people to sell you things seems like when you're going into buying windows, like really try to have some level of, I think it's unrealistic, right, to ask homeowners to like know everything about windows. I don't think that's fair. I'm a freaking contractor and I don't know everything about windows. That's why you should
trust that the person you're hiring knows.
Yeah.
Right? That's the Henry Ford thing about how he built Ford Motor Company. It was, don't be the smartest man in the room, hire the smartest
yes.
And
100%.
Smartest women in the room.
Obviously.
But it's okay. You're hiring a window contractor to come and help you, but they're also, you're hiring them to educate you. You're hiring them to know these things. So if you get the feeling that they don't, then don't sign with them.
Yeah.
It's really important to make sure in your gut that you feel like the people you're hiring are educated on the topic. That way you're not living by what ChatGPT tells you about buying windows.
True story. That's also true.
A lot of our competitors only sell one window. That's the other interesting
so
thing.
you want them to have, like, it's important to have multiple lines.
We believe it's important to have multiple lines because every pain point's different.
Right,
so if I only sell
right.
you the most energy efficient window, that might not be what you need.
Yeah.
Or if I only sell a composite frame, that might not be the best investment
Yeah.
for your home. If I only sell vinyl windows, you may be looking for a modern look, and painting that vinyl is going to be a big regret of yours.
Yes, it will be.
So knowing what your needs are and knowing that the company you're choosing can help you actually find solutions to your problem.
Yeah.
If there's a viable solution, you want the company that's going to help you find it.
I gotta say, I don't know of a lot of companies out there that offer that.
Low bar.
Yeah.
Low
so
bar.
Listen.
Well, I mean, in
North Carolina,
in all fairness, the more you sell of something, the better discount you get. Right? So you might get a super cheap rate on something because you only sell that exclusively.
Yeah.
So 75% of our customers do buy the Wallaby Advantage window. That's our main product line. That way we can use a bulk buying power to lower the price of something. We do also sell Anderson, Pella, Marvin.
Oh, okay.
We sell all of your major brands as well. So that way we can get you the look, the feel, the style, the aesthetic, whatever it is that sold you on that other product line, we've got it.
Okay.
But we still do have the main product line. And that's what a lot of our competitors are built around, is that one thing, their bread and butter, and that's all they sell. And they tell you that what they sell is the answer to every problem you've ever had.
Yes. So I was building in the Turks and Caicos. I was part of a 3-person company that we had a property over there. We were building townhouses, and we had to replace the windows and doors, and they had to be obviously hurricane rated. Yeah.
So that's laminated glass.
Oh.
Laminated glass is the impact glass.
Okay.
Lamination of the glass that prevents like a tree branch.
Yeah.
It'll break that outer layer, but because it's laminated, it won't break the inner layer.
Yes.
To allow the elements in. That lamination is what makes it sound resistant.
Interesting. Okay. The more you know.
Yeah.
So because we were we were on an island, off of an island,
trying to get products out
Oh
there.
man. And then so like you have to pay duty. So they don't pay taxes in the Turks and Caicos, they pay duty. So 40% duty on everything that's brought in. And that's a lot.
Yeah. 40%. Crazy.
Yeah. So one of my business partners got a quote from Anderson.
Oh,
and I was like, are you drunk right now? We couldn't afford Anderson in our regular house.
Well, in all fairness, Anderson is they have more than just their renewal line.
Right.
They have many different lines. They have a vinyl. They have a composite.
I'm remembering the heart attack that I almost had when I saw that window quote. So we ended up having to go with a company that was based in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh my Lord.
Okay.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
So,
and that is not an example of builder grade windows being cheaper. That's an example of, so when we used to be in the furniture industry, we used to always say, sometimes you pay more for better. And sometimes you pay more just to pay more.
Yeah.
So you've got your restoration hardware, so you've got your Pottery Barns and on up, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're paying for something like they wrap the fabric on the underside of the cushion too, on your chairs. Sometimes you're paying for better quality fabric so that it won't wear and tear.
Yeah.
So knowing what you're paying for, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the brands you mentioned, maybe only mentioned one.
I think I
they had a patent on their product for so long they could determine the price. And so they had a monopoly on that particular product line and then convinced everybody it was the best.
Yeah.
That patent has expired. So there are other composite windows that you can buy that are fantastic, that if you want that, if you don't want vinyl chloride killing you or your children or, whatever
By the way,
else.
She's kidding. That's not a real thing. That was a shady sales tactic.
That was a quote. Sorry, I forgot to put the quote.
Yeah.
That was the quote of my consultant telling me that vinyl chloride.
I cannot believe that.
Well, and it's in their composite material. So it's even funnier because now that the patent's released, we know that there's vinyl chloride in it.
Oh.
That's what I've heard. I've not read their patent. That's just rumor has it.
That's in the rumor mill.
Yeah, the rumor mill is that there's vinyl chloride in their
You know what's funny is like, listen, I'm going to die one day. I don't know what it's going to be of. Probably a bear fight. I'd hope that it has nothing to do with vinyl chloride or asbestos.
But you know how to
mold.
manage the risks in your life, right? You probably go over the speed limit sometimes. You probably, you know, make questionable comments to your neighbors.
All the time.
They have access to your property.
Oh my God. But we have cameras now. Yeah, we got cameras now. So go on.
We manage our risks.
Yes, exactly. So that's the thing. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but the point is the things that we want people to understand is when you're replacing your windows, you want to just really at the end of the day feel comfortable with the windows that you're purchasing. It's a lot of money and it's not fun money to spend. So it's not like at the end of the day you have a brand new kitchen. It's like at the end of the day you have new windows and that's nice, but it's a different kind of high from granite. So you want to feel good about it.
Appliances.
Yeah, it's a different kind of high from a Viking refrigerator. Okay, my guy.
Or a brand new bathtub.
Yeah, or a soaking bathtub.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that you want to feel good about that purchase as good as you can, and definitely not feel pressured into it. You want to feel like the people that you talked to understood what they were talking about, that they were selling to your specific needs, not just what the only window they have access to or the window that makes them the most money. Definitely always avoid in any situation, whether it's windows or a general contractor, you know, high pressure sales. Anybody who's trying to get you to sell today or telling you the price is going up tomorrow.
In anything in your life, you should feel respected and empowered by the experience. And if you're not, then you have the choice to walk away.
Yeah.
There's no reason to stay sitting there with a person, with a consultant, with a company that doesn't make you feel respected and make you feel like they've shared their knowledge with you and empowered you to make a better decision for your house.
Yeah. And that's obviously their companies, like you can just tell that this is something that's very important to Wallaby Windows, that is their company mantra. And which is really important for companies to have that. A lot of companies don't. So like when a company comes in and they're giving you a quote and you're feeling all these weird ways, remember, you met Ashley and she's like all about respect and all about feeling good about your purchase and all about feeling like, you know, we want you to feel comfortable. She literally for the first, who knows how long in her company, outlawed the same day sale, wouldn't let you buy it even if you wanted it because she wanted you to sleep on it. That does exist in the world. It's just there's like two, maybe one. I've only met the one. I'm hoping there's two. But consider these things because honestly, every story I have ever heard, including my own experiences, your experiences, my sister's experiences, my mother's experience of getting replacement windows has been this like used car salesman, high pressure, won't leave your house, like I've never heard the like I'll discuss it and turn your porch light on.
Porch light tactic, it's a thing.
That is traumatic all in of itself. So any of that, like just know. You definitely want, I know a lot of people will just go to Lowe's and Home Depot and because they're like, oh, Lowe's and Home Depot. So Lowe's and Home Depot are going out and hiring people that they don't know. They're paying them the least amount of money possible to install these windows. And like, listen, I'm not hating on Lowe's and Home Depot, but I am hating a little bit on your install process because I think you should stay in your own lane. And that is selling things, not installing things. Like, I'm just keeping it real.
They're getting better. They are hiring, like, they can hire local companies to be their installers. So they are getting better.
That's great.
But you still miss out on the relationship building, which as we've discussed, you know, there are a million horror stories because every day when you tear somebody's house apart to put something new in, there's an opportunity for something to go wrong.
Yeah.
And if you don't trust the team, if you don't have the utmost confidence in their abilities and the amount of connections and contacts they have in their sphere to be able to move along quickly, not miss a beat, take care of your home, that relationship also is an important, valuable process that you're never going to get by buying your windows at Lowe's. No one's going to give you an ETA. No one's going to keep you informed. You're going to be in the dark. I did this this in my old house. We remodeled the bathroom. We needed 3 windows. Nobody told me. I had to hunt them down. It held up our entire remodel because I never knew when those windows are going to arrive. Yeah. And then it turned out we'd ordered them wrong.
Oh,
We mismeasured because it's on you to measure,
ugh,
or
you
on,
guys
if
don't.
you have your own installer, and we had our handyman installing them. I mean, just the amount of things that can go wrong, right?
Right.
So we had to build the frames in. I lost glass, right? I lost my beautiful view
Yeah.
out because I needed to build it in because we had measured it wrong.
Ugh.
It's hire professionals.
Yeah.
Let them do their job, make it a seamless process. And at the end of the day, I think it ends up being cheaper anyway, just with the amount of heartache and time lost. And when you become a project manager yourself, because nobody's cohesively managing the project for you, if that's not your job, good luck doing it well.
And honestly, that's one of the biggest things. Like, this channel exists because there are just so many homeowner horror stories out there. There are so many bad experiences that you as the homeowner have had. And the point is, for those of you who haven't had that experience yet, we're hoping that you don't have that experience. And so this information is just here to serve you, to educate you a little bit more, so that when you go into the process of, even if you're, like in new construction and windows are part of that process, making sure that you're talking with somebody that, I mean, I know you guys don't do new construction windows, but making sure that you're talking with somebody who knows, who's seen your lot, who understands,
what are your concerns?
Right. What are your concerns? How does your house sit on the lot? All of these things really matter. And so just knowing that the people that you're working with are educated and are like the best people that you're working with is the way to go, because these horror stories exist because people went with the cheapest, or because people didn't know what they didn't know, or they felt bullied. They felt like, oh my God, I had to go with these people because, this is a question too, deposits.
Right.
This is always a question that we have. How do deposits work for windows?
So everybody does it differently.
Yeah.
We request a 15% deposit after we've done our final measure. So you sign the contract. Once the contract signs, we have our operations manager come out and do the final measure with the installer. At that moment, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
Everybody's got all of their details dialed in. Everything's good. Now we're collecting a 15% deposit. That's actually the point in which the contract becomes valid.
Okay.
If I don't collect a deposit, then that 3-day rescission period actually hasn't kicked in until I collect money from them.
Okay.
So we collect a 15% deposit. That's enough for me to shoulder any of the minor costs associated with ordering your products. Then we collect 45% when the products have been delivered and are ready to install.
Okay.
So whether they're delivered to your home, whether they're delivered to the distributor and we're ready to put them in your home whenever on installation day, that's the point at which we collect 45%. And then at the end of the install, when we're doing the final walkthrough, we collect the final, after you've verified everything has been installed, any service orders have been placed that need to, any scratches are addressed, everything is operable, everything's functional, then we collect the final piece.
I feel good about this. So we've heard, I get so up in arms about deposits, because deposits are really how GCs especially will screw a customer over.
That's how GCs fail.
Yes.
I mean, poorly managing your deposits is the number one way that a GC goes bankrupt.
That's how trades do it. Like everybody,
it gives them the opportunity
mercy
to screw you over.
Yeah.
And it opens the opportunity for them. Then you really want to know what their books look like.
Right.
Because now you've given them like 50%. Some are half up front, half not.
And that's the thing is, so I love that she's not asking for 50. She said 15. So I just want to be really clear about that. 15% is enough money to keep you honest and keep her honest. Yep. And then the rest of that 45% is like when windows are in hand, and those are your windows.
Yep.
So once you pay that 45% for that windows, right?
Yeah, like now you've paid 60% of the project. The windows are yours. Should anything
so
happen,
if anything happens, you still own those windows. If you don't want to go with Wobbly Windows anymore, that's fine. You still own those windows, and you can hire Chuck in the truck to install those windows. It's going to go terribly, but either way, you own those windows. Now that I feel comfortable saying, I think that is a reasonable and it's a safe deposit structure. But I will tell you, most deposit structures I don't feel good about.
One of my competitors doesn't collect a deposit, and I know they're bigger and they've been around a long time. I'm concerned about contractual obligation. There's literally no contract till they get installed. We've thought about trying to match that because we do believe we want to give our customers the most comfortable process and experience possible. But we also believe some skin in the game makes us each accountable to each other.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to order windows and then they're coming. Once you've ordered them, they're coming regardless as to whether the person is going to move forward or not.
Yeah.
And be stuck with a bunch of windows that you can't use because they're measured and they're, not every framed opening is the same. So I know we all think everything is standard. It's a lot of times not. So
replacement windows are built custom for each hole.
Right.
And to go back really quick to what you said, we do sell new windows. We will sell new construction windows, but most contractors already know what they like to sell. They already have access to it. We don't serve a big need for that.
Yeah.
But if you are building and you're working with a contractor and they don't have at least basic knowledge about the windows, ask the questions. Get the answers. There are there's still details that they may overlook. We do have GCs we work with who do custom builds, and they'll say, I've got a customer, they want a window I don't carry, I'm sending them your way. And then we can step in, we can talk them through all of the different design and details that the GCs are great at. In general, they're great at all the other details that they're building for your custom build or your custom remodel. But they tend to just have access to one or two windows that they sell, and they just don't even make that a part of the process. For most homeowners, they may not care, and that's great, and that's why we don't serve a big need there.
Yeah.
But if you do care, you want to talk about why
I think they don't care because they don't know to care. Yeah, I think that's the thing true. Too, is like, like again, my poor sweet neighbor 2 houses down, he doesn't probably know that there's a window that he can put in that might reduce the noise to our very noisy street that has been there since before he bought his house. So like, I think the thing is like people, you as the homeowner, you may not know how important it is to ask questions about the different kinds of like, okay, how does my, like, again, I'm covered in trees. Yes. I need a different kind of window than the clear-cut lots need. Yeah. They need all that sun
south-facing
protection.
Windows are going to have more sun exposure. So you might want to go with a different option. You might want to go with a different, visible transmittance. You might want to add layers of low E. You may want to just pick a different window on the south side of your home. Yeah. It is not necessarily something a GC wants to sit and talk about. They may know it, and it may be just fine for them to discuss it with you, but they have so many other details going on about the project. Involving another sub isn't always a top of mind.
And also a side note, like you as the home, like if you're building a custom home, Liz, if you're building a track home, don't even try it. Like, don't even try it.
It's not in your control.
It's not. They don't want to hear from you. Okay, I hate to tell you this, but they don't. They just want you to pay them the money and move into the house and then never have a complaint ever in the history of ever.
We've replaced windows that are in 4-year-old homes because they're like, look at this cheap builder grade crap. We're like, we know.
Yeah, you're like, well,
if you want us to, we will. Your windows are fine. But we're going to educate you on the fact that like your windows are fine. They're like, we know they're fine. There's cheap crap and we want something better.
But if you're building a custom home, like I imagine, in my neighborhood, these windows are just wild. I can only imagine how much these windows cost. So if you're spending that kind of money on building a custom house, I would want you to feel really good about the windows that you're buying. Like I would want you to feel like I'm getting the best windows for what I'm paying and that they're meeting the needs that I want. Like one of the things that I think is really interesting is a lot of my neighbors put windows in places where I could see them naked if I was looking.
Stop looking.
I mean, you're not wrong. I should stop looking. But I can't help it if I'm driving down the street minding my own business and homeboy be walking up his stairs in his underoos and his windows is all he's got is windows on his stairs. I don't want to see his underoos, but it happens from time to time. But I'm like, I wonder if he had a good window consultant, if they would have been like, hey, love the design of where these windows are facing, but what if we put in some obscure glass?
How about some rain glass?
And it'll when be really you need a cup of milk, at midnight and you got to go down your stairs, but you don't want to put your bathrobe on, you don't have to worry about it.
I'm just saying. Find it weird if you buy a bathrobe for him for Christmas?
You're like, sir,
please wear this.
Also, but here,
just
put it on.
But when you're buying this beautiful home and you're building this beautiful home or you're renovating this beautiful home and you want that outside in experience, you get that from the windows.
Yes.
And if you're really not having that conversation, especially the fancy remodels where they bring in somebody to do all the work, that's great. They know what to sell you, but did they sell you some like big old chunky frames when they could have sold you some thinner window frames?
So you can get
and then
more
you get
of
more
that
glass.
experience.
Did anybody talk to you about a pocket install where you lose glass versus a full frame install, which might cost more, but overall it saves you that lost glass, that open visibility that you were maybe trying to achieve. So consulting with somebody who listens, wants to know how to get you the right. One of my favorite things I heard recently was the analogy of this woman going in to buy shoes. She goes into the shoe store. She's like, I need a pair of shoes. The guy says, okay, how often are on your feet? What do you want the shoes for? Does anybody ever say you overpronate or anything? You just ask. She's like, dude, I just want a pair of shoes. The guy down the street just asked my size and gave me some shoes. He says, well, he was trying to sell you shoes. And I am trying to find you a pain-free walking experience. And I felt like, exactly. I'm not trying to sell you windows. I don't really care whether you buy windows or not. But you have a need and I want to do it right. And I want to alleviate your pain points. And that's it. That's all we're trying to do. Other people are just trying to sell you their window.
I don't think a lot of people associate pain points to windows. Like, you know, they're like, as long as they don't leak, I'm good. But actually, I think there's a lot more that goes into windows that we didn't know before Ashley came. And now we know there's a lot more pain points when it comes to windows that maybe you're not thinking about.
People are thinking, you know, oh my gosh, my HVAC's running constantly. I need it serviced. I can't believe I have such a terrible HVAC system. When really your HVAC system could reduce its life by up to 25% if you don't have properly insulated windows. So you're losing so much. Either you're losing your heat in the winter or you're gaining so much heat in the summer that your HVAC system's working so much overtime it can reduce the life by 25%.
Wow. Didn't even think about that.
How many people are replacing their HVAC systems and not their windows? Wow. And then you just went out and blew a ton of money on something and didn't protect it. You didn't take the chance. You didn't take the time to say, the right solution for my house is to properly insulate it before I just go making sure the internal temperature is always properly regulated.
That's a really good point. Again, the more you know, guys.
The more you know.
So I feel like we've really covered a large plethora of many a topic. But at the end of the day, I think we've covered what the red flags are. We want you guys to feel really comfortable when you're purchasing windows. So we want you guys to feel really comfortable with it. And if you don't, like, listen, you're the boss of you. So just like ask them to leave and you're not going to leave the light on. This isn't Motel 6. If you're local, I mean, I'm obviously going to put all of her information in the show notes and she's going to be all over our socials. So please check out Wallaby Windows. If you're not local, I'm sorry. But maybe there is somebody similar in your area and now you know what to look for and you might just have to look harder to find a really reputable window company. But trust me, it's worth it.
I would also look, I mean, for us, we want to be accountable to our community. We serve our community. That's a big part of who we are. If you're looking for that local feel, you want to support a local company who's accountable, start by asking around at your chamber, asking around through other chamber local businesses. Your association of realtors probably knows who's accountable to them. And that's the person you want to be coming out and quoting your windows. So look for someone who's rooted in your community. And 98 cents of every dollar spent on the local business is reinvested back in the community. And it's reinvested by support through those other local organizations. Support that. Those are the people who are building your community up. Those are the people who care. Those are the people who want to do right by you and just help you with your window and door project as a fellow neighbor instead of someone who just wants to sell you windows.
Yeah. So I feel like we've covered it. So thank you so much for coming on. And God knows how much is going to have to be edited out of this. But listen, guys, we had a lot of fun. Maybe none of it. Maybe you're going to get the whole shebang. But thank you for watching. As always, please go to all the socials. So we are on LinkedIn. We are on Instagram. We are on the Facebook. And Jess keeps telling me to stop calling it the Facebook. But now I have to call it the Facebook because she told me not to. Because it just is fun. I know it makes me seem old.
I'm on the Facebook as well.
Yeah, she's on the Facebook. Yeah. She's on the Instagram.
I'm on the gram. Is that what they call it?
The gram. She's gramming it. Are you on the talk?
No.
Oh, I'm not on the talk.
It wasn't. We can't have any purchase.
I am one of those people who is like, I'm not going to have anybody spying on me. And people are like, oh my God, stop.
There's Lemonade now.
Lemonade?
Yeah, and Lemonade.
Lemonade?
I don't know. I hear about these things.
Oh,
yes.
wow. Because you have kids. See, dogs don't tell me anything about the socials. They just snore and drop bones and make a lot of mess.
They're noisy.
They are very noisy.
In a non-creepy way, follow us.
In a non-creepy way, follow us on all the socials. And then please, 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 if you want to have your homeowner horror story read when Jess is here, go to chicksandconstruction.com. There's a little link where you can go in and you just submit it on the form, and it comes to us, and we will read your homeowner horror stories, and we will help other people to not have that same experience by kind of going through it and saying, hey, here's where things went wrong. And honestly, if nothing else, you get the validation of knowing that somebody did you wrong and we're putting it on a podcast. So there's also that vengeance. Okay, we're dishing out knowledge and justice on the Chicks in Construction podcast. So love you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.